And I remember, you know, COVID was like happening. I don't know if that's the right word to use. So, you know, everybody was masked up more than usual. You know, oftentimes in an oncology ward, you're all wearing masks anyway.
Yes.
And my oncologist was, you know, giving me specifics. He's like, you know, at that point, schools were starting to close down. Like, things were starting to ramp up. They weren't quite, I guess, at the peak or whatever. But, you know, and he told me, you know, straight up I needed to stay home. But part of that was his perspective, and part of that was knowing what my blood counts were and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, it definitely adds a whole nother layer to everything. So
yeah, I agree. So what has been the hardest thing since your cancer diagnosis?
Oh boy. You know, I watching my kids watch me, you know, I do tend to be a pretty strong person. So, you know, we've weathered a lot. My faith is very strong. There are days that I feel like maybe God's ignoring me that day, but I know that he knows my name, you know. But watching my kids that have to wrestle through these same things that I struggle with as an adult, and here they're like in middle school, you know, it's hard enough in middle school, you know. Mm-hmm. That was so hard. And I think even now, in some ways, you know, I'm a survivor now. You know, I'm a cancer survivor, and even that is hard, because it's like this weird little spot, because it's still a part of you. You're grateful. I mean, I survived. There's gratitude there, but yet it still left a mark. You know, and it left a mark on my kids. And so it was just, like I said, when we had these other diagnoses and people were like, well, at least it's not cancer. But then when the cancer hit, to be able to say, okay, well, but now it is cancer. So what does that mean? You know, our worldview kind of has to spin a little bit at that point. And so I think anytime you have to watch your kids hurt, for me at least, that's the hardest thing in some regards. You know, it wasn't the sickness from the chemo. It wasn't the, you know, all those things for myself, though those things were hard. It was the impact it had on them. That was hard.
So what is one thing that you do for yourself? Because, you know, you're obviously you're taking care of yourself for the cancer. You know, you're taking care of your children and their needs, but you have to find a way to kind of fill yourself back up, because it's just if we're empty, we aren't any good to others. So,
True.
So what is it with all of that? Like, what is it that you do for yourself that you allow yourself to take some time? What's the one thing that you do to fill yourself back up?
You know, it changes. Sometimes it's, I just enjoy sitting outside and ignoring the dirty dishes, ignoring the to-do list, ignoring the, hey mom, you know, do we have this, or I need this. It's just sitting outside and giving myself permission to just not do or think about anything. Sometimes, you know, from a practical standpoint, I can't do that. And so it's, if I'm on the go, then I'm going to spend a few bucks and get that coffee that I want, and I'm going to sit in the car and I'm going to do that. And it's what I used to kind of shame myself a little bit, because I had again, well-meaning friends that are like, okay, well, you need to take a weekend away and just get away from everything. And well, yeah, that would be nice. But if that is the only way I can self-care, then I don't know if I can do that. And then I'm going to feel guilty, and then it's a vicious cycle. So I can find little ways to self-care too. And 9 times out of 10, it involves shutting a door somewhere, and just allowing myself to just not make myself accessible to everybody. Read, or like I said, just sit outside and not think about anything. Music is a huge outlet for me as a musician. So whether it's making music or listening to music, we have to give ourselves permission as busy moms or moms that have a lot of things to do with our kids or taking care of ourselves to realize that those small moments of self-care, those count too. They do.
Well, there's something, that's called the compound effect. I appreciate what you said. You're right. If the only way that you could recharge yourself was by going away for a weekend, that may happen once a year, but you can't let yourself go down the other 51 weeks and let all of that energy run out. So I love that you have found little ways throughout the day, and it is a closed door. As sometimes it is just, I've done that. I'm guilty of that, where sometimes I'll get home, especially in the wintertime when it's cold, and I'll just sit in the car. And, the car's running and it's warm, and I'll just take a couple of minutes to do whatever I need to do and to, stabilize myself or just talk myself up just to be able to have that. But I love, what a great point, because you're right. That one little weekend away is great, but you need something. You found ways to be able to fill yourself back up on a regular basis that doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't take a lot away from your family. But yet, by filling yourself back up, you're the better mom that you feel that you need to be to serve your children, which I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. So what's the takeaway? Like, what would the person listening to learn or understand or look at their life differently? Like, what's the one thing that you would want somebody to take away after hearing your story?
One of the things that I think all of us as women struggle with is our worth. Regardless of how put together we look, regardless of how many friends we have, whether those are literal friends or, virtual ones, we all struggle with that. Even in my intro, I joke around about my bad case of acne as a teenager, like, whatever. We all have our things.
That's right.
And this is what I love about Hello Gorgeous too, because they really tap into this really well, and they really encouraged and at a very critical time in my cancer journey, really hit on this need for me is just reminding me that I am beautiful. I am worth people's time. I am worth their energy. I am worth their efforts. I am worth I'm worth something. And you may, someone listening to this may not have slews of people around them reminding them of that all the time. They may have gone through circumstances outside of their control at the hand of another person, or maybe at the hand of an illness, or maybe just at the hand of, life in general. But I always want someone that I interact with to understand that they are important and that they matter, and they don't have to walk whatever journey they're in alone. And for me, that meant different things at different times. I had a very close but small circle that really got me. And all of the things that we went through and how they were connected and intertwined, and how it made kind of the mental health and emotional aspect of it pretty unique, pretty small circle. But my faith, obviously, I've talked about that. So my faith in God was a huge part in that too. And I believe that ultimately my worth comes from Him. But I want people to understand that they are valuable. They're valuable.
That's right. Well, that's perfect. That's the perfect ending. That's the great sentiment to leave people with. They are valuable. So thank you, Becky, so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking time to share your story. I know that it will inspire others, so thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Kim.
If you have any questions or comments or would like to know more about the guests on our show or for more information about Hello Gorgeous, feel free to contact me at kbecker@hellogorgeous.org or visit our website at www.hellogorgeous.org. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and our mobile app. Again, thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, on Hello Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Stay gorgeous. Until next time.
Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co-founder and host, Kim Becker.